What's the spiritual significance of the war in Ukraine? Wars come and go, and they hardly ever come to an end. It's part of the human condition, really, to have war. But this one's different insofar as there's a very big threat coming with it, the threat of a nuclear development. And in the event of a nuclear war, there is no point in imagining any future. We have no idea how that would be, or even if it would be. What we have to do is to understand that whether or not there is an escalation depends upon us. We are not powerless. And that's almost an absurd proposition to think that we can influence what's going on, but we can. And we do this with the power of the mind. The truth of reality is that we don't share it with anyone else. Our own reality is unique, unless we want to share it with someone else. And we share reality with other people by taking on their beliefs, their feelings, their fears, and we absent ourselves from another's reality by not doing that, by not taking on their beliefs and their fears. And that's what we have to do in this particular case. We have to understand that we are challenged by this moment in history, that it is a crucial moment, and yet not to see this as a problem or a fear, a threat, a danger, not to see that, but to see this as an opportunity. This is the test for all of us who are significantly committed to a spiritual path. This is the big test that many of us have been expecting, waiting for. In my case, since the 60s, we have known for that period of time, 60 odd years, that there would come a time, probably not in my lifetime, we thought, but it's come, it's now, that there would be what has been predicted as Armageddon. Now, typical with all predictions, that was beefed up to make it seem as though it was an unwinnable battle with the devil or whatever. It's nonsense. It just means the end of this huge period of history of our species. That's come to an end now. We're not going back. We're either moving up a dimension or not really having another go. We're dying off if we can't do that. Those of us that really want to become spiritual, we must now claim that. We must claim to be spiritual beings, by which I mean that we can, by power of mind, power of focus of mind, clarity of heart, certainty of faith, we can project a force into the world that creates the world that we want. Whatever we have been doing in the past to put off this moment, that's finished. We can't put off this moment any longer. Now is the time to deepen your spiritual practice. Now is the time to get back on a track of absolute authenticity. Now is the time to push through, overcome your resistance. Resist what resists within you. Defeat it. Now is the time. And if a number of us do this, then that number will create for ourselves a different reality. This is not airy-fairy New Age nonsense. This is quantum physics. We don't have to buy into a collective horror story. What we can do is find our path through whatever's going to happen, a path of light and love. And we do this by behaving as though we are on top of the situation, that we have command of our own scenarios locally. You can't expect to do very much to influence what's going on elsewhere, but you can do whatever you can do locally. Now, you can also visualize light. You can place a cordon of light, a protective layer of light around yourself and your world, and that will make a big difference to help you feel good and create a feel good feeling that will emanate and ripple out. You can also visualize light over the major actors in this conflict. These people are not to blame. We would be foolish, very silly indeed, to blame Putin or anyone else for this war. They're the result, not the cause. Hitler, the same. Stalin, the same. These monsters are our monsters. That's what we have created. And the extent to which you fear them is the extent to which you're creating them. I know that sounds harsh, but that's how it is. What you do is look at what is within you, afraid. Look at that fear. Look at what is within you as imperfection and deal with that. If you have blame within you, if you have fear within you, then that's what causes the trigger for your blame and your fear. One draws the other. And what we can do is to change our feelings. We don't have to fear, we don't have to blame, we don't have to imagine. Don't imagine the conflict. Don't imagine what might happen if it escalates. People are speaking of that. You can't deny it. That would be stupid. They're speaking of it. But just don't give it your attention. Give them light. If somebody wants you to be afraid, whether it's a newspaper or a blog post or whatever, don't. Don't be afraid. That feeds the problem. Be triggered into your highest expression of light, and that is faith. Faith is the highest dimension of spiritual expression. And the faith that we have is that it will be okay. Everything will be fine. We don't know how. We don't need to know how. We can see how things are stacking up, and it looks a little bit difficult to imagine a way through. Not our job. Our job is simply to know that it will be okay. Somehow. And even if that means that we have finished this life and we're on to the next one, fine, fine. Just accept that and move forward gracefully, knowing that the more confidence you have, the more faith you have that that is the case, the more certain it becomes that your journey from here to whatever's next is going to be easy. So have faith and let this be an opportunity, this war, let this be an opportunity to stimulate you to a greater spiritual commitment. Get on with it, whatever it was that you were going to do to increase your spiritual commitment in life. Get on with it now. Now is the time. Do your daily practice every day. Visualize light over the area of conflict, but most particularly around yourself. Get yourself into a bubble of light and increase the power of that light. And that will have its own rewards, whatever the consequences of political unfoldings. Be of good faith. Find your faith now. This is the opportunity for that breakthrough that you've always been promising yourself.